The race towards actualization of climate change protocols for sustainable environmental practices is on, with Africa stepping up modalities. In this episode of Africa Weekly, we will beam our lights on this and other issues across the continent. I am Charles Alpha, welcoming you to this week's edition of Africa Weekly. We take off from Ghana. Now, despite recent gains made by the cedi against the major trading currencies, the prices of staple foods items, particularly yam, remain high across markets in Accra, Ghana. This has sparked growing concerns among consumers and raised questions about market pricing, transportation, inefficiencies, and the actual impact of currency appreciation on Ghana's real economy.
Yam, a staple food widely consumed across the country, whether fried, boiled, or pounded, is increasingly out of reach for many due to its costs. Consumers say the rise in prices is making it harder to maintain their usual diets. Patrick Asamoah, a teacher, shared how his household has been affected, noting that he now buys less yam than before because prices have not eased despite the strengthening of the cedi. Traders, on the other hand, point to persistent challenges in the supply chain as a key reason prices remain high. Comfort Anochiwa explained that transport operators continue to charge high fees to move goods from farms to the market, a cost that traders are forced to pass on to consumers.
Frama Samako made a kotoku omoji 15 cities. Sese onso amati sunupo omoji.
Rosie Boa echoed similar concerns, stressing that price adjustments by traders are not arbitrary. She attributed current price levels to seasonal farming patterns and the additional burden of transportation and distribution expenses. While the cedi's appreciation might suggest an easing of inflationary pressures, the situation in the market tells a different story. The gap between macroeconomic indicators and the realities on the ground highlights ongoing structural issues that affect food pricing and distribution in Ghana. To consumers, the question is, what can be done to streamline the supply chain challenges so that the appreciation of the local currency will ease pressure on their pockets?
Still in Ghana, findings of a survey conducted in Ghana indicates that about 61.88% of Ghanaians are willing to pay higher tariffs in exchange for stable and uninterrupted electricity supply. The new survey reports issued by Public Utilities Regulatory Commission highlights the growing demand for reliability over affordability in the country's power sector. The report examined consumer preferences and perceptions of electricity supply and pricing across the country.
Despite this preference for stability, the new PURC survey also uncovered deep concerns about affordability, especially among students, retirees, and low-income earners. One participant noted, "My salary cannot afford higher electricity tariffs," a sentiment shared by the 49.1% of respondents in the constant price group, driven primarily by economic hardship and price sensitivity. The report identified clear urban, rural, and gender-based differences. While urban areas and high spenders of more than 1,000 cedis prioritize stability, rural respondents and women are more likely to focus on cost. 64.2% of males were more inclined towards stable electricity compared to 57.5% of females, suggesting income and access disparity. In terms of meter usage, 68% of respondents reported using prepaid meters, signaling a widespread shift to pay-as-you-go systems. However, the cost of maintaining power under this system remains a challenge for many, particularly in low-income households. Respondents also raised concerns about systemic inefficiencies, poor communication by service providers like ECG, and the impact of illegal connections on power quality and revenue losses. There were strong 29.4% respondents calling for tariff reductions, and 14% wanted more consumer-focused policies, along with suggestions for exploring alternative energy sources such as solar. Based on PURC's findings, the report recommended several policy actions, including increased investment in grid infrastructure, especially in urban areas, affordability interventions such as subsidy or tiered pricing models for low-income households, and region-specific strategies that acknowledge the diverse electricity needs of consumers across the country.
And Zambia's Drug Enforcement Commission has apprehended 4 individuals suspected of cultivating and processing cannabis in the Chief Wema area. DC Assistant Public Relations Officer Sydney Katungo says the ongoing operation has so far led to the seizure of over 121 tons of cannabis from the area.
In a major crackdown on illicit drug cultivation, the Drug Enforcement Commission has unearthed a massive cannabis farm in Kafiwe's Chief Wema area. The Commission has discovered 45 areas ranging between 2 and 60 hectares each, cultivating high-grade cannabis.
Out of these 45 fields, we have managed to harvest, or rather cut down, cannabis plants, weighing a total of about 121 tons.
The cannabis was not only cultivated, but also processed and prepared for distribution, highlighting the sophistication of the operation.
We also found this in this field. So these are seeds, but from the look of things, these are not seeds meant for planting. It appears they are part of the residue of what was being processed. Okay? Because you can see some dry leaves here, fresh leaves here. So there's been some ongoing activity here where whoever is doing this, they do process the cannabis from here, or preliminary processing. What I mean by preliminary processing, from our intelligence guided operation, we have discovered that most of these fields are near banana plants, or rather they plant banana plants near the cannabis fields. The leaves of the cannabis, of the banana plants are rather used to preserve the potency of the cannabis, rather to keep it as strong as it is. Okay.
So far, 4 individuals suspected to be involved in the cultivation and processing of the illicit drug have been arrested. The DEC is currently on site and has assured that all the cannabis will be uprooted and removed from the area.
Nigeria faces an escalating environmental crisis marked by intense flooding, severe erosion, and widespread land degradation, threatening livelihoods, and national development, with climate change intensifying rainfall patterns and rising sea levels. And most regions in Nigeria are becoming increasingly vulnerable to displacement, crop failures, and infrastructure loss. How can Nigeria navigate its way to achieve its climate action plans? Well, Chief Nobu Akenge, an environmentalist and publisher of Environment Outreach magazine, will attempt to profile or recommend some solution as we move on in this discussion. We want to say thank you very much, Chief Nobu Akenge, for finding time to come to Africa Weekly program.
Thank you.
Now, the reoccurrence of flooding and the menace of erosion and land degradation in Nigeria is impacting lives and livelihoods. Can you help us speak to the root causes and how they are linked to climate change and urban planning failures?
Okay. Yes, the issue of flooding, erosion, land degradation, and climate change have been in the front burner of national and international discussion for quite a while now. At the country level, Nigeria has been impacted severely by flooding over the years. We have to draw our minds quickly back to the last one that happened in Mokwa. We can also cast our minds back to the Madugri episode, where livelihoods, a lot of lives were lost and properties destroyed. We can also cast our mind back to 2022 flood, and then the great floods of 2012 that impacted severely on the country and its people. Now, flooding and climate change are interlinked because the impacts of flooding is just one of the impacts of climate change. And our country has grappled with these problems over the years, and the impacts are well known. Land degradation occurs when flooding impacts our communities, and then especially the coastal communities. The infrastructure that is put up by government, with that got billions of naira over the years, are also impacted. The livelihood of the people are affected because a lot of agricultural lands are also impacted, leading to severe food shortages, and then health concerns that erupt when these things happen, because it comes with diseases and all that. And I want to say that as much as government response on these issues have been to a large extent commendable under the circumstances, a lot more needs to be done. People are always expressing concerns about early warnings, and when you give out the alerts and then send the messages, especially when NIMET and the hydrological services say they have come up with states that are likely to be impacted by flooding and other natural disasters, and then the messages are sent to the subnational governments, and we do not see actions being taken, early actions being taken to mitigate the impacts of this flooding and other disasters. I think it should concern every Nigerian, and especially policymakers and those who implement these policies. Okay. I want to once again say that the impacts have been, and we have to express serious concerns about the impacts and call on our governments and other international bodies, national bodies, that and even the communities to become increasingly aware of measures that they will use in mitigating these impacts or this, these disasters when they occur.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you talked about early warning system, and I'd like to talk about that a little. Are we investing enough, in your own view, in early warning systems, disaster preparedness, and sustainable and use practices to reduce long-term risk? Do you think we are investing enough?
The warnings are sent to the authorities, and we do not see much of awareness creation on the part of the citizens and the communities. And so when the persons who receive the warnings sit on the warnings, many persons who live in such communities or states or boundaries of states in the subnationals may not even know what is coming. Are likely ignorant. Most times we only respond when the incidents have already, the impacts have already, the flooding has already taken place. So we do more of reactionary, measures, take more of reactionary measures than proactive measures. And that is quite disturbing.
We'll conclude this segment. I'd like to, you have been an advocate of the environment for decades now. How has your work, the Environment Outreach magazine, enhanced climate change awareness and sustainability?
Yes, I've been involved with advocacy and, of course, trying to play my own role in ensuring that we have a better environment for over 4 decades now. Since 1981, we have been, doing the work from Port Harcourt to all parts of the country and beyond. And haven't been involved with advocacy and activism in the environment sector for so many years. At some point, I thought maybe the legal awareness was not there in the country. We've attended most of the UN, led gatherings globally. From 1992, I was in Brazil. Then to 2002 in South Africa, and most of the conference of parties we have gone and come back, either as state delegates or civil society. But at some point, I felt that the message was not being, was not being taken to, the needed awareness was not being created. So I decided to veer out more from advocacy, from the activism to concentrating on publishing an environmental journal, an environmental magazine that will highlight environmental issues and take it to all nooks and crannies of the country. That was how the Environment Outreach magazine was launched, was born in Nigeria, specifically launched it in Bayelsa State, from where we have been taking the advocacy to all parts of Nigeria. So clearly we are doing our bit. It's a huge country. It's a thankless job. Advocacy is not one thing that one man can achieve all alone. So collectively, I'm happy that a lot of persons are also doing the same advocacy. So Environment Outreach Magazine has been doing its best to ensure that the message of the environment is taken to all parts of the country and beyond. Okay, so what impact has this magazine made, in the lives of Nigerians and those caliber of people you have brought in to help you preach the gospel? Yes, indeed. The magazine has, by 2010, we thought we should not just publish, but we should take one step further by introducing the annual lecture series, where we will specifically take a topic, a theme, go to a state, gather people, all types of persons from traditional rulers to academia, pressmen, and all that, the local community and all that, bring them together and then get somebody, an expert, to teach and then to deliver such lectures that will penetrate. Because in the country, there are certain environmental issues that are more pronounced, in certain parts than the others. So we set out a public lecture series. And since 2010, from Port Harcourt, we have done the lectures in Abuja, Warri, we have been to Calabar, Benin, and so on, Lagos, Kaduna, and so on. So we have attempted to do our part, and then also use the occasion to honor certain institutions and persons who have done well in the environment sector, as a way of encouraging Nigerians to continue to uphold the ideals of the environment and to continue to protect our common heritage, the environment. Thank you. All right, thank you very much, Chief Noble Akenge, the publisher, Environment Outreach Magazine. I want to say thank you very much for the thoughts and every contributions you have made on the program Africa Weekly. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you very much. All right. Up next is our tidbit segment. Please just stay with us.
In Zambia, more than 500 casual workers have been contracted in Zimbabwe on the Lusaka-Ndola dual carriage project. Zimbabwe District Commissioner Lennox Chimwambwa says the road project is a beacon of hope for the people of Kabwe, as it has fostered job creation and business opportunities.
Shadrach Ngambela, all the way from Western Province, has temporarily relocated to Kabwe, where he is currently engaged as a casual worker on the Lusaka-Ndola dual carriageway project. This road project has accorded him an opportunity to earn a living.
This administration understands the importance of this. That is why we are making strategic investments in digital infrastructure and broadband expansion. We are committed to ensuring that access to the internet is not a privilege or the few, but a right enjoyed by all Nigerians. We are also supporting innovation through the National Digital Innovation Fund and nurturing the startup ecosystem with policies that promote growth and reduce unnecessary regulation. We will not lose focus on cybersecurity. Every Nigerian has the right to be protected in both the physical and digital domains. And you are the young people of this country. You remain most important, the most important investment. You are of a nation. Your ideas, your energy, and your commitment to national development are among Nigerians' greatest assets. So I challenge you to use your platforms not only for self-expression, anger, or retaliation, but for problem solving, to build solutions that addresses our nation's needs, to mentor and to promote digital literacy and accountability in every corner of our society. Let your leadership be defined by integrity. Let your digital footprint reflect the best of our nation. Let your actions speak of a generation that did not wait for permission to lead. Step forward with your courage and with clarity. Nigeria's path to prosperity will be shaped by many forces. Make yours inclusive and relevant. But none will be more positive than the choices made by those who dare to imagine and who possess the skill to build. Just imagine the Vaghorns, our great female footballers. They were down 2-0 before halftime. Ordinary soul, unless one would have given up. But they came up with perseverance, determination, and consistency. To bring the glory to the entire nation. So let us move forward together like they did Let your creativity continue to inspire. Let your enterprise create opportunity. And yet, your example show this generation is not only ready for the future, but ready to lead the future. I pray, may your work be guided by wisdom. May your voices will lift others. And may your generation be remembered not just for its potential, but the full achievements of the reality of our time. God bless you all.
Thank you. Patriotism is not a slogan. It is a deep-seated nationalism that runs in the blood, so says the president. God bless you, Mr. President. Now our papa be this. Are you there? Now one, papa be this so. You know, now our papa be this so.
You know, when Mr. President was the governor of Lagos State, I had the opportunity to meet him at an event. And after I finished my performance, he called me and he said, Sheyi Law, how much were you paid for this event? And I said, sir, they only gave me 600,000. And he looked at somebody and he said, Joba mi fun Sheyi ni 400. They'll pay 1 million. And I met him at another event. And he asked me again, Sheyi, how much were you paid for this event? And I remember how he added 400,000. I reduced the price. I said, sir, I was only paid 250. He said, help me add 750 and make it 1 million for Sheyi Law. And so when he left and Barrister Fashola became the governor, I saw him at an event. He looked at me and said, Sheyi Law, how are you? I said, fine, sir. He said, how much were you paid for this event? And I remember His Excellency. I will always ask them to add something. And I decided maybe this is another opportunity to have something added to me. And I said, Your Excellency, Barrister Fashola, sir, I have only been paid 500,000. He looked at me and he said, Sheyi Law, have you paid your tax? That was the last time I greeted him at an event. Mr. President,